what evil lurks in the hearts of men.
Turn your dial to find the frequency of the past.
Captain Advice.
Where the classic stories of mysteries, sci-fi, thrillers, and suspense are found waiting to be heard once again.
Another case for Nick Carter, Master Detective.
You'll find a variety of those stories here, in their original form, where each episode takes you to another place or time.
The Man of Bronze, Doc Savage.
But only when you find the mystery frequency. Available everywhere.
The Shadow knows.
Leave a message. Hello, Aunt Jackie. I've arrived and found the flat. Jonathan seems to have left it clean and tidy, if a little bleak. There's no laptop or even a TV, just a lot of books. There's nothing lying around to give us any clue about where he's gone. I'm staying here. I can't afford a hotel, and anyway, he might come back here. I'll call you again tomorrow. Aunt Jackie, so, quick update. I went to the police today and asked them what they are doing about finding Jonathan. They said Jonathan Riley is not listed as a missing person, and I rather lost my temper and told them that he had had no contact with his family for months now, or his friends, and his flat was empty. And besides, Riley was his adopted name, and had they even checked his birth name? They seemed more interested in how a dishwasher in a restaurant could afford an entire flat in central London. I think they were implying that Jonathan is a criminal. I had to explain that you owned the flat and paid the bills. They asked me why, and I had to tell them I had no idea. I would like to know why, too, Aunt Jackie. Anyway, they said there was no sign of criminal involvement, and it wasn't actually illegal for a young man to just cut off all contact with the family and disappear. So that's that. They won't use any more resources on him. Unless they find a body, of course. Jackie, I've searched the flat. I don't think he's taken anything. His clothes and books are still here. He was reading something about the ghosts of Borley Rectory. It's by his bed. Not really suitable bedtime reading, I thought. I mean, he was never prone to nightmares, but surely, what kind of thoughts does that cause? In the dark, when alone? I don't know what happened at Borley. I know it's a famous case, but I would never listen when Jonathan would try to talk about these things. I didn't want to know. I don't need to know. Life is difficult enough without dwelling on horrible things. But what really annoys me is that there's an inscription inside. It's from you. I thought we'd all agreed not to encourage this obsession of his, to help him find more suitable hobbies. Isn't that why we sent him to London in the first place? I don't like the flat. It's too dark. There's a street light outside. I thought it would light up the entire flat. Instead, it just seems to create even deeper shadows. Even with all the lights on, it feels dim in here. I don't like it. It doesn't feel like a happy place to live. I don't suppose you care about that. Aunt Jackie, I went to where he works and they said he hasn't been there for months. Long since before he cut off contact with us. Why? What has he been doing with himself? The flat is so cold. Jonathan always hated the cold. When we were little, he used to spend winter wrapped up in a blanket next to the radiator, reading his books. I've had a look at the other books in the flat. They're all that paranormal stuff he got obsessed with when he was a teenager. I thought he got over all that when he decided he wanted to be an artist. But there's a bookcase in the front room full of stories of ghosts and UFOs and God knows what else. All old library copies and second-hand books. I suppose he got them from the charity shops. I know they're not his. We got rid of all his books. Dad piled them all into the back of the car and took them to a charity shop. Although I never saw them in the local charity shop, so maybe he took them to the dump instead. Or burned them. I have a memory of a bonfire in the garden one night, and I went to look because I like a bonfire, and he sent me away. It looks like Jonathan managed to track down replacements for all of them. I don't know why. I thought he'd memorized them. Is this the reason he left? I don't want to read them. It doesn't look like there's any art equipment here. What the hell was he doing? Was his entire life just these books? And it looks like he made notes too. He scribbled names and dates all over the pages, and there's my name on one page. Well, it says Fiona. I mean, a lot of people are called Fiona, aren't they? It's all over an article about someone called Philip. I didn't read it. I don't want to know. I wish he had called me about this. I mean, he did once, but he was obviously drunk. He kept saying, "Remember, Fiona, remember how you were when we were children." And you've always had an affinity for the darkness. Which is ridiculous. I've always hated the dark. And then he talked about our parents. Something they said when they were dying, but they died in a car crash, and I was in the car with them. I know they didn't say anything. I would have remembered. But when I called him back and asked him about the call, he just said that wasn't him, and maybe... Shadows burn. I got your letter, Jackie. What do you mean you've hooked up a computer to the phone to record all my messages so I can talk as long as I want? It's not as if I'm talking for ages and having to be cut off. Except that last time, obviously. And why do you need recordings anyway? Why don't you just answer your damn phone? I can just hear you saying, "Fiona, don't be so rude. Just do as you are told." Fine. Okay. It's November the 30th, 2024. I arrived on the 26th. I have nothing to report. I've tried the police. I've tried his workplace. There's no sign of any friends in his flat. None of the neighbours have come round to ask why a strange woman is now living here. His phone disappeared with him. The flat is noisy. I can't sleep. The clock ticks loudly. The furniture is always creaking. The shop downstairs must have rats, and they scratch in the walls all night. I'm not bothered about that. I grew up on a farm. I just think she should do something about it. I hear traffic and the neighbours all night. They're not arguing, they're just loud. They talk all the time. What can people find to talk about like that? His notes make no sense. Just random things like Borley Rectory equals ritual ? And diagrams of names I don't recognise. Thomas plus Jenny, for example, and Beatrice. And weird shapes. Look, I would say it looks like Jonathan is spiraling out of control. If it wasn't for the fact that of the two of us, He's always been the more stable. Jonathan is sensible. I don't like the shadows here. They feel thick. They tend to be concentrated around the bookcase. I know they're just shadows, but I feel if I touch them, they'd be solid. Which is, of course, ridiculous, so I walk through them, just to prove there's nothing there. Thanks for the money. It's enough to keep me going for a while. I've taken some time off work. The library has been very understanding, but I'm not going back until I found Jonathan, and I don't know how long that will take. I've heard of these searchings lasting years. I've got a weird burn on my arm. I don't remember doing that. That's all. I got your letter. What are you talking about? I never left you a message about the shadows burning. How can shadows burn? I don't like it here. I don't like it in London. I don't like the flat. How can the shadows be so thick? The neighbours are never quiet. They talk all day, and now they've started banging. They're above me, and I hear them walk back and forth all day. I thought about going up there, but I'm scared. I'm not like you, Aunt Jackie. I can't just confront people. And the little shop downstairs is weird. The lady who runs it keeps asking me all sorts of questions. I thought people minded their own business in London. But she keeps asking me if my brother is coming back and saying we don't look anything alike. I did ask her if she saw anything suspicious, but she just laughed and said, "This is London, dearie. We're all a little strange here," which isn't helpful at all. She did ask me to keep the noise down. Said my footsteps were too loud. I should have told her to keep the rats down. I went through Jonathan's books. I don't like reading them, but I can't stop thinking about them. He'd made notes in pencil, I could see, but he'd scribbled the notes out. There's bookmarks everywhere. He seems to have been most interested in the paranormal society set up between the walls. All these groups of odd men doing experiments on psychics in laboratories. I mean, what did they think they were doing? You can't prove the existence of ghosts in a scientific way. Ghosts, they're there because they connect with you. Sorry. I don't know why I said that. I went out to those addresses where the societies were. I mean, they don't exist anymore. They're just offices now. But I thought maybe Jonathan went to look. I found myself wandering around Bloomsbury for hours. I don't even know how I got there. I just sort of... it's so cold. And the lights everywhere, and I sort of got distracted, I think. At one point I thought I saw an apple tree in full bloom, and two men sat underneath it, but how can that be? It's November. My head hurts so much. I sat in one of the squares and tried to think about Jonathan. I thought maybe he'd just appear if I wanted him to bad enough. I know that's stupid. I sat there until it was dark, and do you know, I wasn't scared even a little bit. I know I've always been afraid of the dark. You used to make fun of me because I wouldn't go out after sunset. I thought it was a very sensible precaution. But in that square, outside last night, there was no fear. I thought the night was beautiful. I wanted to stay there. I wanted to watch all the things that come out at night and see the lights go dark and listen to all the secret sounds the night makes. But I'm a sensible woman, and I know it's not safe to sit in the London Square at night. So I went home, trying to avoid the tube because I cannot figure it out and I don't like going underground. It took ages to get back by bus, and I was exhausted when I got back to the flat. I looked up to the windows, and for a second I expected to see someone there. I almost thought I saw a white face looking down at me. But of course nothing was there. Not even a reflection of the streetlight. Just total blackness inside. I didn't want to go in. I really didn't. I almost turned around and walked away. But where would I go? And what if Jonathan came back? He always liked the dark anyway. When he was interested in ghosts, when he was a kid, he got so fascinated by it, he wouldn't leave the books behind. Every time he went to a new place, he had to find out if there was a ghost story. I hated it. I didn't want to know. It scared me. But he said I didn't need to be scared. That ghosts were nothing more than shadows and memories, and I believed him. But I wanted to be closer to him, so I read some of those books. I found stories about ghosts throwing things and hurting people and starting fires. And then I found an odd little book, very thin, with a blue cover, that said ghosts could actually come back and possess people. I know it's silly, but could that have happened to him? Something came for him? I don't know where that book came from. He'd bought it but hadn't read it. When I told him about it, he put all his books away, and just like that, he stopped being interested. Oh, I'd forgotten that until now. So why did he start learning about it again? I don't know why he had to come here. We were happy in our little village. He was going to be a teacher. Why give all this up to come here and wash dishes? I blame you. It was after he went to visit you. Can you hear that? It's the upstairs neighbours. I wonder if it's them. Maybe he went up to talk to them. Maybe he went up to talk to them and they killed him. I try not to assume Jonathan is dead, but what else can I think? I cannot believe that he would be alive and stay away so long. He was never cruel. And if I assume the worst now, then at least if something else turns out to be the answer, I'll be happy, whatever it is. I know you always hated that I did that, Aunt Jackie. Said I was catastrophizing. But when the floods came, who was ready? That hot summer when the well ran dry, who was ready? All of you mocked me for always being prepared for the worst, but who the hell was there when the worst happened? Not you. Not Jonathan either. You always said he had something better to do. I've no idea what. In the shadows. It's in the shadows. He's in the shadows. I'm sorry. I got your letter this morning. And thank you for the apology. You're right. I am under a lot of strain. And I don't know where to go next. And I also apologize. I didn't mean to accuse you of sending Jonathan here. Why did you ask about the shadows? No, I haven't gone near them. It's not as if the bookcase is full of books I want to read. I want to avoid it. The lights from the flat never penetrate them, and I choose to believe it's a weird quirk and nothing else. I don't remember being interested. Those books, I'd never have read them when I was a child. I only read them because Jonathan did. I never wanted to know. I never thought about it. I don't know where that came from. I think you're mixing me up with Jonathan. I'll look into the shadows with a torch tonight, like you suggest. Those damn neighbours. Can you hear them? I was trying to look with the phone torch, but it wouldn't work, and I don't have a normal torch anymore. I went to the little shop below, but they don't have a torch. I'll go up and ask the neighbours. Maybe they've got one, and they're so loud. I deserve a little favour in return. I'll take the phone with me, though, just for safety's sake. It's funny, the door is open. I can just walk in, can't I? I knocked. I can hear them arguing in there. I still can't make out the words, but I recognise the tone. Well, Aunt Jackie, if I disappear, you've at least got proof of who took me. No. Wait. I don't understand. There's nothing here. It's empty. There's dust everywhere, just thick dust, and no tracks in the dust. There's no one here. There hasn't been anyone here for months. But I heard them. I heard them. Jonathan! Jonathan, is that you? Jackie! There's something in the shadow. I can still hear the neighbours. There's something in the shadow. A darkness. In the darkness. Jonathan, is that you? Why can I still hear them walking? Jonathan, come out of the shadow. It's me. It's Fiona. Jonathan! Jackie, it's me. I'm in A&E. I burned my hand. They keep asking me how. They say it looks like a scald. I didn't scald myself. I put my hand in the shadow, thinking it was Jonathan. It felt thick, like I was pushing my hand into treacle, and then felt like it was burning. The shadows burned me, Aunt Jackie. What the hell is this flat of yours? What did you send Jonathan into? I got your text message. No, I'm not okay. No, I'm not leaving the flat. Do you think I can leave while my brother is still missing? It was always me who could find him. All those times he'd go wandering out the front door and no one could find him. I could. No matter where he went. I'll find him this time, no matter what. The shadow's gone now. The neighbours who don't exist are still walking. What the hell did you send Jonathan into? Thank you for listening to The London Shadows Part 1. A story from the world of the Rue Papers. Written, created, and performed by Emma Butler. I hope you'll listen tomorrow. But then again, of course, some stories should not be listened to.